past experiences there. And so, Phil, I know that you've worked diligently on a variety of notes. Each of these stories are really important. What is a story right now that you would like to make sure that our listeners hear?
Well, I think one thing is that a lot of the troops, when you get terribly scared, they learned something about the Bible, about Christianity. And I think it was, you wonder how they felt afterwards. But there was a saying that there were no atheists in the foxholes.
Yeah.
And of course, my dad, having been a minister, that's probably why they made me a medic. They probably thought, well, a preacher's kid doesn't want to shoot somebody. But I would have been willing to do that as much as anyone else.
Being a medic, now, what was the first battle that you were involved in?
Well, the first battle we had, we were to be support. Of course, it was a machine gun platoon. And before the attack took place, we took the tracer bullets all out of the machine gun belts so that when we shot in protection for the infantrymen going through us, that the Germans couldn't see where the bullets came from. Because tracers show you where your bullet goes, but it also shows where it comes from.
Right.
I remember one time we were in the basement. I was on duty that night while the others were sleeping, and all of a sudden an explosion upstairs. We heard this rifle go off. Well, the next morning everybody was quiet, and I stayed there, and the others came up and all around to see where the German was, and they couldn't find one. And the next morning, of course, there wasn't any German. One of the guy that was on guard duty thought he saw a German, and he shot him. It turned out to be a gas mask that was hanging on the wall.
So, yeah.
You've got to be frightened at all times. I mean, you're on at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Every noise, every crack, every light, you're on edge.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really probably sleep. I was wondering, in the last segment you talked about you would volunteer to go out and do the walk around and kind of pick, watch out, because you're probably not sleeping that well. Were you sleeping through the night?
Well, depend on. Sometimes we had so much artillery shells coming in, like when that tank was hit, you couldn't sleep because they'd fire all night. And we were lucky for the darkness, really.
And were the attacks normally at night, or were the battles also in the day?
The what?
Was the battles at night, in the day, or both?
Yeah, usually you'd start before daylight, like maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And there were times that we attacked that we made good progress, and then all of a sudden the Germans would shoot flares in the air so that they could see us. And of course then you just lay down. If you saw a foxhole, you jump in it or whatever, and it was just a matter of going as far as you could. In fact, the first attack that we went on, the lieutenant platoon leader that we had took us up. The night before, we'd had a chance to go over the maps and everything and planned what to do for our outfit. And being a medic, of course, I could go to those times and see the same as they did. Well, this lieutenant took us up in the wrong place 3 times. And finally we lost him after that 3rd time, and we went up and our guys attacked and took out some pillboxes, and often we would cover the engineers to go up and throw their explosives into the pillbox, but it was the automatic fire. A lot of times it would close up, the pillbox would quit firing as soon as you started firing in their little hole, and so it was just a matter of cooperation was so important. And I think that our division, although we had all the maneuvers and everything, it was important that our officers knew how to do things. And we never did see that lieutenant again. Sergeant Sanders was our sergeant, and he took offer. He was actually wounded the same time I was. He got some shrapnel in his chest, but it didn't go in very far. So we took tweezers and pulled it out.
That's nice.
And so he eventually, that same day, he took over, and he went out and he shot. We were having sniper fire from the enemy, and he and Sergeant Starr left us and said, "We'll be back." And when they came back, they said, "It's just like hunting deer. We killed 3 of them and captured 3 of them, of the snipers." Well, that's kind of a callous comment, but war is terrible.
Yeah, yes it is. We're talking with World War II veteran Phil Ansted. He was in the 84th Infantry. They were the rail splitters, and he was a medic in the war. And war is hell. And one of the reasons that Kim and I want to continue to tell the stories and take your personal testimonies of you and your brethren, Phil, is so that future generations understand the sacrifice that you gentlemen and women put forward during the war, and how terrible tyranny is. And we want to stop tyranny before it gets to that stage, so we never have to do that again. I mean, what a terrible war.
One comment especially that I want to know or say is, after the war, think of what happened. Germany, think of Germany the way it is today. The Japanese. But when we fight wars now, we don't help them get back to civilization.
It was a pretty amazing thing that America did to, like you say, help Japan and Germany get back on their feet. And do you think that was something that was learned from the end of World War I? That Germany was in such a tough spot. Do you think that's maybe one of the reasons why we did that?
Oh, I think that was maybe the reason for the Marshall Plan and some of the things that our government did. That after World War I, we just left, and we hated them and all kinds of things. In fact, I remember when I was in high school or in grade school, the people next door to me were Germans, and they had a picture of their father on a horse in his uniform. And then when I lived in Kalkaska, there were rumors that there were people that had an antenna in their chimney so that they could communicate with the enemy. And I remember we watched for airplanes coming in from Canada. We were worried that we had, all night long, we had people watching the sky, and we had our pictures of different kinds of German planes so we could identify them if we could see them.
My family actually is German, and my grandmother had 2 sons serving, so 2 of my uncles, in the European theater. And she got pretty cranky at some of the other German families if she felt that they had any concern for the German, army at all. So that was an interesting time in America. So we are the Marichicks, Molly Vogt and Kim Munson. We're talking to Phil Ansted, World War II veteran. It's Friday's World War II Project Day. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back with more of Phil's story.
Check out Facebook. We're live.